Alrighty, everyone, it's Friday, so you know what that means. It is time for News of the Week for November 15th, 2024. Again, this is our third one ever that we're doing. Thank you guys for the support in the last two. Let's get straight into the third one. I'm going to be honest with you guys, it was a pretty light week when it comes to news around the NHL. We still have a good 2 pages to talk about here, but overall, it's been a lot of not that big of news, to be honest, apart from some stuff surrounding the Pittsburgh Penguins and a few other things that we do need to talk about. So, let's start off with some trades that have happened this past week, and there are 2 of them. One of them happened last Friday, right after I uploaded the news of the week last week, and I was very busy last weekend, so I never had time to really talk about it, so I never made a video on it. But let's start off with that one. The Seattle Kraken have acquired Daniel Sprong from the Vancouver Canucks for future considerations. Daniel Sprong is currently on a 1-year, $975K deal, which expires at the end of this coming season. He had 3 points in 9 games played with the Vancouver Canucks. So this is a really weird one for me. This one really kind of confused me a little bit because I honestly thought that Sprong was going to be a good fit in Vancouver, but I guess something didn't work out with Rick Tocchet. Otherwise, I don't think we're really talking about this right now, and he's likely still there. I think that's the main reason why, and there's been a lot of rumors and a lot of criticism around saying that Sprong is not a good teammate. Sprong is a one-dimensional player. His defensive analytics are not that good. At least that's what I've been hearing around the NHL and some of the rumors that I've heard. Don't know if that's true. Don't have really any backup on that. But when you're looking at it right now, I mean, he got traded not even, I think, 10 games into the season for him. So, overall, we'll see where it goes. It's a good ad for Seattle. I think he's worked out there in the past. Could get him some secondary offense. Seattle definitely needs that for sure. But overall, it was a little bit of a head-scratcher after, him getting acquired there. The other trade I made a video on this past week, but I'm going to go follow up on it now. Lars Eller has been traded to the Washington Capitals in exchange for a 2025 5th-round pick and a 2027 3rd-round pick going to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Eller is on his last year of a $2.45 million deal, and he had 7 points in 17 games played with the Pittsburgh Penguins up to that point. Eller, former Capital, good ad for the Caps. They get a good third-line center that fits in well in there. And as for Pittsburgh, they get draft picks, which, I mean, they kind of need future assets, to be honest with you guys. So I don't hate it whatsoever. I think that it's a good move. And, yeah, that's pretty much the 2 trades. I don't really need to spend a lot of time on the Eller deal because there's a video up on the channel talking about that. So if you want to go see that, it's posted about 3 days ago. So I would recommend go looking at that. Other news around the league, we actually have a lot of injuries and suspensions and waiver claims. We're going to start off with a signing first. The only signing of note this past week, Braden McNabb signed a 3-year, $3.65 million extension with the Vegas Golden Knights. So far, he has 2 points in 16 games played so far with the team. McNabb, good bottom or middle pairing defenseman on Vegas. He is one of the more forgotten guys on that blue line. He is, I think, turning 34 next year. So overall, and by next year I mean January. So overall, I think it's a solid deal. Probably his last contract overall. So getting him on a 3x3 with the salary cap going up, I think is a pretty solid deal when you look in terms of what you're dealing with there. So I like that a lot for McNabb and Vegas. A lot of injuries around the league, and that's what we're going to follow up with next. We have 4 of them here, 4 relatively big injuries to talk about. Calgary Flames forward Anthony Mantha is going to be out for the season due to an ACL injury and is going to have to undergo surgery because of this. Really unfortunate for somebody like Mantha, who was picked up by Calgary as a likely trade deadline acquisition. He is on a 1-year contract, so he probably will either walk or sign another deal with Calgary or another team. But overall, it kind of sucks because I think Calgary really did go out and get him for the sole purpose of flipping him at the trade deadline. But overall, we'll see where it goes from here. But hopefully Mantha can have a full recovery and maybe come back next season with the Calgary Flames. Max Pacioretty from Toronto, after suffering an injury earlier on in the week, is now week to week with a lower body injury. So unfortunate there for Toronto. I thought he's looked good. He's been in that little rotation there so far, though. So we're looking at least to December. He's likely out for the rest of November, but I've obviously been wrong before. Things can change. But hopefully Pacioretty is okay, and maybe he will return soon. Frederik Andersen of the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, we talked about in the first news video we did 2 weeks ago at the start of November that he was going to be out week to week. Well, it seems like it's going to be longer. Rod Brindamore said to the press conference today that it is looking like a more long-term injury, and he said, quote, he'll be out for way longer than just a week-to-week injury. So, really unfortunate there for the Hurricanes. They lose one of their goalies. I think Chekhov's looked good in replacement for him so far. Even Spencer Martin's looked solid, too. So, even though you obviously want your starting guy and somebody who's been really good for them, I think they will be okay. Just being honest right now. But we'll see when he returns, but it won't be for a while. And then the last injury that I caught before I started recording, Matt Zuccarello was out 3 to 4 weeks with a lower body injury. So a loss there to the Wild's top six. Hopefully they will be able to manage without him. Zuccarello has been looking good the last couple of seasons, despite aging and getting up there in age. Hopefully he can have a speedy recovery and come back for the team, and likely, again, probably by the end of December, if not January, is where we're looking for Zuccarello at the latest, I would say. That's it for injuries. We do have a suspension we want to talk about, and this happened on Friday as well. What happened on last Thursday, and the suspension was announced on Friday, and I never talked about it in the news video. I guess I missed it when I was reporting, but Tanner Jeannot signed. Tanner Jeannot was suspended 3 games for an illegal check to the head on Brock Besser on Thursday night. Very, very late. I mean, that's all I can say on that hit. Very late. It's clearly there's head contact there. I think these are hits that you want to get out of the game. I think it's a rightful suspension. Again, if I had time this weekend, I would have recorded a video myself talking about it and the Sprong trade as well, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. So overall, very unfortunate for for Besser, and hopefully he is okay. I think he is though, but for Jeannot, definitely, it's good that this is a suspension. You want to get these kind of hits out of the game for sure. We got a few waiver claims here to talk about, and these are pretty interesting. We got 4 of them here. Starting off with Dante Fabro, who has been placed on waivers by the Nashville Predators and was claimed by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, there were a lot of teams who wanted Dante Fabro and wanted him on their team. He's a good middle pairing, bottom pairing defenseman. Just really never got what he wanted in Nashville, and that was pretty clear as like a 7th defender. He will get that in Columbus. What kept teams away, though, was the money. He's getting paid a good amount, and for Columbus, a team that's rebuilding and already is having troubles getting to the floor, let alone like being against the cap, it is somebody they perfectly need. So Fabro will get some ice time there for sure. I think that it's a good ad for Columbus. Also, 2 goalies were also claimed by other teams. Kaapo Kähkönen went from Colorado, placing him on waivers, to the Winnipeg Jets. Now, if you remember, Kaapo Kähkönen was already on the Jets, but was claimed by Colorado. So, again, he's already back to Winnipeg yet again, so I thought that was a pretty funny thing that you could bring up. And then James Reimer, same thing. Signed by Buffalo, claimed by Anaheim earlier this offseason, was claimed by Buffalo again this past week. So I thought that was something pretty funny, too, that you could throw in there as well. I like to see those kind of things where, guys get put on waivers, claimed by one team, then put on waivers later on, and then get claimed by the same team or get claimed by other teams. They just bounce around the league a ton. There are guys in the league who are like that, especially backup or third-string goalies. And those are the kind of goalies that Reimer and Kähkönen are at this point in their career. Also, Andreas Athanasiou was also placed on waivers, but he was not claimed. He was sent down to Rockford. Athanasiou was on the final year of a $4.25 million contract. So, overall, I thought that was pretty interesting, too, because Athanasiou, I thought, was looking all right in Chicago, but I guess hasn't really gone that way this season so far. So they're going to give him some time in Rockford and see if that can work out overall for him. On to other news before we get into the rumor mill. The Jets have become the first team in NHL history to win 14 of their first 15 games. They are actually 15-2 right now at the time of recording of this video. They have by far the best record in the NHL. They are just seemingly incredible. Everyone's playing very well. It seems like Hellebuck's going to win a Vezina. Connor might even win the Hart Trophy. He could get some votes there for sure. So they look like a historically good team, and they beat out teams that have been really good before them, like Boston and those Montreal teams back in the 70s. Like, they really have beaten out those teams for a really good record to start so far, and I think that's very impressive for how this team has overall played. Can they keep it up? Sure. But I know everyone's thinking about we need to get to the playoffs. We need to see how this team is in the playoffs, and I don't blame you whatsoever, to be honest. EA Sports has added the PWHL to their games. I think it's coming December 5th when the PWHL will be officially added. They also added a new arcade mode. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't have a PS5. I have a PS4. I don't have one of those next-gen consoles. I am a PS4 guy, by the way. But I haven't played the game yet. I'm hoping that by Christmas, just because of how, money is, I'll be able to get one. But at least as of right now, I have not been able to play the game just yet. But it's cool that they're adding the PWHL for sure. And as well as that, too, I am actively trying to get some PWHL jerseys into the collection as well, because I think that would be pretty cool to show off to you guys. But regardless, cool ad that I thought I'd throw in here, too. And then one final thing before we get into the rumor mill. Connor McDavid has reached 1,000 points in his career, which is why I'm wearing the Oilers merchandise today. Congratulations to him. He is the 99th player to reach 1,000 points. I thought that was pretty impressive. It shows that, as the league goes on, the more and more players will reach milestones like this. But for somebody like McDavid who did this, I think he's like the fourth fastest person to ever reach 1,000. I think that's very impressive, and I think he can easily shatter 1,500. He's going to get to 1,752 and maybe even hit 200 or 2,000. So he really is going to make history by the end of his career, and hopefully he will get a Stanley Cup in the process too, or else it's not a great look. We'll see. Well, it is. Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's move on from news to rumors, and these are not news, these are rumors. So don't go out and say, oh, Nordic is saying that this and that. No, these aren't even my rumors either. So let's get into it. All right, starting off with some Pittsburgh Penguins stuff here. Now, if you guys saw yesterday, I made my video on Pittsburgh talking about how this teardown's going on, but they really don't have anyone to trade. But it came out today per Darren Dreger, and this is... It's like you're talking to a significant other, or you're talking to a girl and a boy and you really like them, but they're sending you mixed signals. This is what this is. And this is the only way I can really reference it as a teenage kid. The Penguins won't commit to a rebuild unless Crosby retires, per Darren Dreger on that. Now, this is weird because we saw earlier on this week, Kyle Dubas made everybody except for him available for trade. So why are we making everyone available for trade when you're not going to commit to a rebuild? It seems like they say they're going to do one thing, but they're not going to do another thing. The way I see it is that they're going to trade guys if they get the offers, but they're not moving the core. They're not moving Malkin. They're not moving Crosby. They're not moving Letang. They're not moving Karlsson. Your big four is staying. And I think that might not be necessarily a good thing. Some Pens fans might be okay with that, but this team has shown that with that big four, paying them as much as they have, don't know if it's going to work at this stage. Like, all these guys are very old at this point. They are getting up there in age. So, again, it's just weird that you say those things earlier on in the week, and then this comes out. I think we knew this, though. Not saying that we didn't know this, but still something that I thought was weird that I wanted to share. Next up was something that I, ironically enough, talked about in a TikTok. The Columbus Blue Jackets and David Juracek. There appears there is some rocky waters between those two parties, per Elliot Friedman. Now, basically what that means is that they aren't agreeing with stuff. And it seems like there's some discontent or some distance between these two parties' opinions. And it sounds like I'm talking about politics when I say parties, but it's the best way to say it. For those who do not know, David Jiricek has been scratched for 11 games out of Columbus's season so far. He has not played in Cleveland, at least. He's only played 5 games. Like, he took like a massive break between a certain amount of games and then another certain amount of games. So it just seems really weird. And it seems like there may be, if there's a trade coming, it's possible. I haven't heard anything that says, oh, he's actively requesting a trade. But this guy's a 6th overall pick. I know defensemen take a little time to develop, but overall, it just seems really weird that Columbus has kind of just given up on him. And I'm not saying that all of the fault goes on the Blue Jackets, but I think that defensemen do take time to develop, but you're not giving him the time to develop. Sure, you gave him over half a season last year and time in Cleveland, but you're not giving him anything this year. And that's really weird. And I know Vincent, last year, people had issues with him. Like, I think that he's good with young players because I see what he's doing in Laval, but he just can't run an NHL team. And seeing even a new guy come in Dean Evison and him not even getting any time there either just doesn't really compute with me, to be honest with you guys. So we'll see where that amounts to. But something I thought that was also very interesting too that I thought I would mention as well. Additionally, the Calgary Flames could look to move Anderson and Kuzmenko at some point per David Pagnotta. So I think we knew this. I think this was a pretty known rumor that was true. I believe that we think that these two guys are likely going to get traded before or at the trade deadline, even though Calgary so far this year seems to be surprising people and looking better than we thought they were going to. I think they would be dumb to not at least try and gauge the market for these guys. Just being honest with you. I think that overall, you look at where this team is going, the amount of guys they traded, I think they could get even more for Anderson and Kuzmenko. If they go out and they acquire, they could get another first for Anderson easy with how dry this market is. You throw Kuzmenko in there or get him in another trade, I think you could get maybe a second, maybe a good prospect. So you have options here. You have these two guys. These guys are arguably, your two best players to move. So I think they would be stupid not to. So it's very obvious that they're obviously going to move them at some point. So hopefully that happens soon, but we'll see. The Boston Bruins are looking to add a top 6 center and a top 6 winger before the trade deadline per Jimmy Murphy. Don't really know that name too much, but I think that that's interesting too. Very interesting component there. Like, you see, it's weird because Boston's depth has performed well. Like Kastelik, Kopik, or Koep. I know I'm saying his name wrong. Yeah, those two. Brazo's looked good too. Just all of those depth pieces have looked good. It's the top guys that aren't really producing. Pasternak's looked good. Marchand's looked solid. Outside of that, like, Lindholm's looked slow. Zaka's looked slow. It seems like a lot of their guys have really come up slow, and it seems like, a lot of the pressure is falling on maybe the coach for that, but a lot of those guys aren't really producing that well either. So I understand why they may look to add those options, but they already did in the offseason. They got Lindholm. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and then they send Matthew Poitras down earlier on in this week, and that didn't make a lot of sense to me either, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if that amounts to anything, but I thought that was another interesting piece to add in there too because, I think they obviously want to improve no matter what. Lastly, the last piece of rumors that I got here, Cody Ceci is possibly going to become a trade option for the San Jose Sharks per Chris Johnston. Another pretty obvious one. I think we kind of knew San Jose was going to, use the guys they have and try and make something happen. Of course they would. I think any smart rebuilding team would. And I think someone like Ceci, who was acquired in the offseason, could make a name for himself in San Jose and maybe become somebody else that they pick up or that they move away in the trade deadline as well. Other guys that I think could work too. We could see Toffoli get traded possibly, but he is on a longer-term contract, so I don't know about that. There's a few other guys in that system as well that could get moved, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. But that is your news and rumors of this past week. Hope you guys enjoyed. Not a lot, even though it's still a 20-minute video. Gonna try and keep these under 20 minutes from now on, even though I want to keep adding more and more news. Like last week was like a half hour. And I'm like, yeah, no, we ain't doing that again. So here is your short 20-minute news of the week. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, comment down below your thoughts on these news and rumors. Please subscribe if you're new. We are less than 60 away from 3,000. If we do 3,000, I may do a room tour, but we'll see. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next Friday.